All right, everybody, welcome back into Cherry Picking. Today's video. Must add for week 11 of the fantasy hockey season. As always, video is presented by FanDuel Canada, North America's #1 sports book. So getting this video out a little bit earlier than usual for those of you who need to lock in your ads and drops before the week actually starts. Looking at 6 players here, there's only 2 teams with this week before the Christmas break that play 4 games. That is the Detroit Red Wings and the Minnesota Wild. So we actually have 3 players from those 2 teams that I'm going to be telling you guys to pick up. 6 other players to pick up as well. Let's get into the video. All right, so the first guy we're going to be picking up on the Calgary Flames is Yegor Sharangovich. Has been really hot as of lately. 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. Leads the team in points over the last 5 games played. Leads the team in high danger chances created as well. Ryan Huska starting to reward him a little bit more, averaging 20 minutes per game or over 20 minutes per game over his last 2 games as well, as they played Vegas and Minnesota. He's on the point now on the first power play, which is huge. Obviously, a huge step up in his role, and he's also been one of the better players on the penalty kill in terms of producing points. He's tied second in the NHL in shorthanded points with 4 so far this season. Scored a great shorthanded goal against the New Jersey Devils earlier last week. So obviously in a much better role now for Yegor Sharangovich, also playing on the first line. So playing on the first power play, playing on the first line, playing on the first shorthanded line. Those are obviously great positions to be. Still 17% rostered. I think we'll just continue to see his ice time increase as he continues to produce. His analytics look pretty good. So I think he's a great ad for the last week before the Christmas break and could be a great long-term ad if he stays in this role with Calgary. All right, the next guy we're picking up, Gabriel Vilardi on the Winnipeg Jets. Missed a lot of time due to an injury that happened near the beginning of the season. Had a really hot start to the year on that top line, then got hurt. Took him a little bit to get back, but now Kyle Connor out for 6 to 8 weeks after a brutal knee-on-knee hit with Ryan Strome. But this is a big opportunity, obviously, for Gabriel Vilardi because he moves back onto that first line with Ehlers and Scheifele, and these 3 guys have played together for not a ton of time, just 20 minutes, but they're second on the team in expected goals for percentage at 73%. That's top 10 in the NHL as well. Now, it's a relatively small sample size, but this trio is creating a lot of offense. This was the trio that really dominated that LA Kings team and led them to victory in that game, as well as they went on to win 5-2. Vilardi, I believe, had 4 points in that game. No points in the first game since without Kyle Connor, but in the second game against LA, he looked a hell of a lot better. But third on the team in expected goals for since Kyle Connor has gone down, has created the most high danger offense as well over that span. Seems like he's in a really great fit with Scheifele and Ehlers on that top line. We'll see in the trajectory of what happens with him on the power play unit, if he'll stay on that second power play or move up to the first. But I know Cole Perfetti has had his role cemented on there as well. So time will tell on that end, but I think you can rely on him 5-on-5 wise, regardless, playing on that top line and playing a lot of minutes now that Winnipeg's best player in Kyle Connor is unfortunately out. All right, so defenseman to pick up this week, Jake McCabe on the Toronto Maple Leafs, 11% rostered right now. I know it sounds a little bit of a surprise considering you don't really take a look in terms of fantasy hockey at anyone other than Morgan Riley on the defensive side of things for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he's actually been playing a decent amount. He's been playing a lot more on the ice as well. Leads the Leafs, in ice time over his last 3 games and 5th most amongst defensemen over that same span, playing about 22 minutes per game. Actually got some time on the power play against Columbus as the Leafs tried to come back in that one. Scored a goal on the power play as well with the second unit, so we might be able to see him maybe fill in that role for Connor Timmins on the point, get Jake McCabe on there instead. With the lack of depth on Toronto as well on the defensive side of things, Sheldon Keefe kind of just has to ride with the hot hand, and Jake McCabe has arguably been one of their best defensemen in terms of just defensive metrics. If you look at the 2 top pairs that the Leafs have put out there so far this season in terms of expected goals against, Jake McCabe's on both of them with Connor Timmins and Lagesson as well. So obviously playing really well defensively. That'll translate into him playing a lot more minutes as we've seen over the last couple of games as well. And he'll just start to create a decent amount of points as well as we've seen kind of on the power play and even on 5-on-5 as well. Definitely the second best defenseman to add or own on this Leafs team with so many guys hurt. Obviously there's Morgan Riley, but definitely he's a very close second, and he's also very valuable in bangers leagues, probably more valuable than Morgan Riley in that sense. He's starting to shoot the puck a little bit more, has 35 plus block shots, almost 50 hits as well. So really doing it all on the ice, and now that he's playing about 22 minutes per game, I think he's a feasible option if you are in need of a defenseman. It might just be before Christmas break because things might change a little bit after that, but until then, I think he's a great ad. NHL same game parlays are back on FanDuel this season. Offered in every single game, every single night. Unlike most books, you can include goals, points, and shots on goal. But the newest feature is the gift. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Looking at teams to target for the gift, here's the top 5 teams in goals per game last season. Here's a breakdown of goals in the first period from the 2021-22 season, as only 17% of games that season didn't have a goal in the first period. What will your NHL SGPs look like at FanDuel this season? All All right, so another guy we're going to be picking up, looking at the guys that are less than 10% roster now, and that's Rossi on the Minnesota Wild. Centering that second line has been playing a lot better, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Minnesota plays 4 games this week. They play Pittsburgh, Boston twice, and then the Canadiens. Pittsburgh and Montreal matchups are actually great. The one thing for Boston, it's a decent matchup. It just depends on which goalie you get and how well they play defensively, but Boston's been very inconsistent defensively, been relying on their goaltending a lot more than we've seen kind of in the past as well. But Rossi has been phenomenal 5-on-5 over the past month. Since November 12th, his 5-on-5 numbers are as follows. He's 54% in terms of Corsi 4, so 54% shot attempt share on this Wild team right now, plus 13 goal differential, 11-3 goal advantage, and a 57% expected goals for it percentage as well. So really solid numbers there for Rossi, and will start to translate to points, and it's already doing so. He has 10 points since November 12th as well, 5 goals, 5 assists, 4 of those assists being primary assists as well. So obviously at the forefront of this offensive attack for the Minnesota Wild, and they're just going to continue to play better as well. You know, they got a little bit out of their funk now. Dean Evason's gone. You bring John Hines in. This offense looks a lot better. Matt Boldy's playing better. Rossi's playing a lot better as well. As I mentioned, playing on the second line with Matt Zuccarello and Marcus Johansson, 2 solid vets to play with. And playing with Matt Zuccarello, he's top 12 in the NHL in assists so far this year with 22, I believe. That's obviously great playing with a guy like that, and he's been able to feed these guys as well for goals. So Rossi, definitely a guy I'm adding for this week, and could be for a little bit later on, depending on where his role goes from here. All right, another guy we're picking up, 5% rostered, and I think this guy should be a lot higher rostered at this point, and will continue to probably into this week, and that's Joe Veleno on the Detroit Red Wings. As I mentioned, 5% rostered, 7 goals, 5 assists on the year in 29 games played. But the biggest thing here, obviously, everyone saw Dylan Larkin go down against the Ottawa Senators, has not played this week, and it seems like he probably won't play until the Christmas break or after the Christmas break. Derek Lalonde said it would be aggressive to say that he'll play on Monday and then kind of dodge questions about him coming back before Christmas break, because Detroit plays 4 games next week from Monday to Saturday. So obviously you'd want to have Dylan Larkin back, but you don't want to rush him back too early because you want him around a little bit later this year, which opens up a great opportunity for fantasy hockey owners to pick up Joe Veleno, because he has been in this role for 2 to 3 games now. He's been playing very solid, and it seems like Derek Lalonde is starting to trust him a lot more too. He's now playing on the first power play line with Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and the first 5-on-5 line as well. 3rd on the team in expected goals for since Dylan Larkin has gone down over his last 3 games. Has a goal and 2 assists over that span as well. Playing 22 minutes per game over that stretch too, which is top 3 on the team. So obviously being trusted, young 23-year-old, the guy who actually had exceptional status in the QMJHL back when he was playing junior hockey. Was at the end of the first round pick. Hasn't really gotten his opportunity, but this seems like the best opportunity for him at this point. Playing with Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat kind of seems like a dream scenario. So definitely pick up Joe Veleno for the rest of the Christmas break. All right, and the last streamer that you want to add for this week on defense, if you need one, is Brock Faber on the Minnesota Wild. 5% rostered. He's playing in a godly amount of time for how new he is to the NHL through 27 games played. He only has 1 game this season where he's played less than 20 minutes. He's also played 7 games where he's played more than 25 minutes. Played a career high 30 minutes against the Calgary Flames in their most recent game as well. So John Hines, just like Dean Evason did as well, obviously really trust Brock Faber playing on that top pair now. He's also now on the first power play line now that Kalen Addison got moved to San Jose. He contributes a little bit for those players in bangers leagues as well with 50 block shots. He's not going to do a ton in the hits department, but he's definitely starting to shoot a little bit more right now. Only 30 shots on goal for the course of the season, but is averaging about 2 shots per game, I would say now, over his last 5. So pretty solid there. And then 2 points in his last 3 games as well. If this Wild offense continues to click and find his groove, he's just playing so much time in the ice that it will benefit Brock Faber and anyone who picks him up in fantasy. So for a guy who's averaging about 25 minutes per game, I don't see how you can go wrong. He's involved in all different types of situations for this Wild team. So add Brock Faber if you need a defenseman this week. They play 4 games against the Penguins, Bruins twice, and then the Montreal Canadiens send off. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. That is 6 players to add for week 11 of the fantasy hockey season. Be sure to download the FanDuel Canada app. That link will be in the description below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.